Welcome to Evolving Into Her. I'm Ashlee Hope, and this is your weekly check-in to get out of your head, into your body, and back into alignment with the version of you who's already living the vision. So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's get into the show. Hey girl, hey, welcome back to another episode of Evolving Into Her. This is Ashlee Hope, your sister, your guide, your fellow traveler on this lifelong journey of identity work, of soul growth, of unapologetic evolution. And before we get into today's episode, I need to ask you a favor, friend, but it's the kind of favor that will only take you 30 seconds and it will mean the world to me. If you're listening to this right now, hit pause. Yes, right now. And please go leave me a 5-star review. One, because I'm a 5-star bitch, okay? And you're here listening week after week because you know the content is giving 5-star energy. So on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave a written review if you feel called, but it's not necessary. And on Spotify, it's as simple as tapping the 5 stars. And here's why it matters. I plan on doing this long term. I plan on showing up every week for you, for us, for the collective. And I'm not going to lie, podcasting weekly is a beast. And I don't even have a video or visual component yet. It's just audio. And it still takes so much time, intention, thought, and so much energy to curate these episodes. And when you leave a review, you're not just showing love to me and boosting my ego, right? That doesn't matter to me. You're really helping other women who are meant to find my work actually find it and actually come across it. And you're making sure this content reaches the sisters who need these conversations the most. So with that said, if you've been feeling this podcast, if it's been pouring into you, please pour back into it and into me by leaving that 5-star review. And you know the deal. Grab your favorite alignment drink. Today I'm having lemon ginger tea with a scoop of collagen, of course, and get comfortable. And let's get into today's conversation. It is the trap of having it all figured out. So this conversation came to me because on 2 separate occasions, I saw posts that kind of shared the same sentiment, but they both made me stop in my tracks. One said, I hope I'm not still in my 30s trying to figure it out, which is crazy to me. The other one asked, is it normal to still be figuring things out in your 40s? And I just wanted to grab both of those people by the shoulders lovingly and say, sis, yes, it's normal. None of us have this figured out. Not only is it normal, but it's necessary. And unfortunately, we've been handed a script about life that tells us otherwise. That script says by 25 or 30 or even 35, you should have the degree, you should have the job, you should have the partner, you should have the house, you should have the stability. By 40, you should have the picture perfect family, the bank account set up, the body right, the mindset locked in, the emotional healing complete. And for Black and brown women, there's this added layer of needing to do it all faster and more efficient and cleaner and with less margin for error. And it's no wonder so many of us tend to feel behind and anxious or like we're failing when our reality doesn't match that timeline. That script conditions us to measure our worth by how together we appear. It sets us up to value arrival over the process. And when you start to believe that and you start to internalize that, you start living to maintain an image instead of living to grow into yourself. And I just want to be real. Life is not a straight line. We know this. It is not a checklist you complete and you keep framed. It's a living, breathing, evolving thing that shifts, rearranges, seasons change, priorities change, you change. And that is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're alive. And honestly, having it all figured out by a certain age, in a certain way, having it all figured out by 25, by 30, by 40, baby, that is a scheme. that Todd set up to come to you with the bullshit, okay? Shout out to Aunt Bertha from Real Housewives of Atlanta for giving us a way to laugh while calling a spade, okay? Because if you can see the scheme, baby, you can step out of it and choose differently, okay? Word to Aunt Bertha, okay? So let's really sit with this, the idea of arrival, because it can be a sneaky girl. We all grew up with some version of the belief that once we get there, life becomes stable, predictable, and easy. And so there is different for different people. There might be a certain salary. It might be a marriage. It may be the baby. It may be a certain level of fitness. It may be a house in the right neighborhood or the dream job. And the fantasy is that once you arrive, you can just maintain from there. You can just coast. And that's when life will finally feel good. But here's what actually happens. You get there, wherever there is for you, and before long, life shifts. Your desires shift. Your mindset shifts. Your circumstances shift. The version of you that wanted that thing evolves. And suddenly, what once felt like the end goal is just another mile marker. Baby, arrival is an illusion. The real assignment has always been and will always be evolution. Evolution is not glamorous in the way the internet sells it. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's lonely, sometimes it is deeply uncomfortable, sometimes it is ghetto. Evolution asks you to let go of what once worked. It asks you to tell the truth about what is no longer aligned. It asks you to take the risk of becoming someone new, even when the people around you are comfortable with the old you. And so when you accept that evolution is the point, that is the plot, you stop clinging so hard to outdated goals. You stop shaming yourself for changing your mind. You stop believing you're failing just because you're still learning, because you're still growing, because you don't have it all figured out. And the most beautiful part is that when you release the pressure to arrive, you actually start noticing your life. You notice the little things. You notice the joy in the in-between. You notice the doors that open when you're not tunnel vision and locked in on one fixed destination. You notice how much lighter it feels to live in the process instead of trying to freeze yourself at one perfect point that you may never reach. And sis, this trap of having it all figured out is everywhere. It's not just about work or relationships or one area of your life. It finds its way into everything. It's in your career. Let's say you've built the title, the income, the reputation, and then something shifts, something out of your control. Maybe the industry changes. Maybe the job market is trash. Maybe your heart's just not in it anymore. But instead of exploring what's next, you stay because you've already made it here, your version of whatever making it looks like. And starting over feels too risky. You can see the trap in motherhood or caregiving when you finally figured out a routine that works and then the person you're caring for changes. They grow. The season changes. Suddenly you're back at square one, learning all over again. And part of you resists it because you just got comfortable. It could show up in your friendships when the way you connected isn't what it used to be, but you keep going through the motions because it's easier than facing the truth that the dynamic has shifted. Hello, somebody. It's in your self-image when you've built your identity around being the strong one, the dependable one, the achiever, the good girl. That's who you've always been for so long. And even though life is calling you to be softer, slower, more creative, it can feel scary to let go of the version of you that everyone recognizes. And the trap can also show up in your healing or your spiritual journey. You think, okay, I've done the work. I'm healed. And then life hands you yet another layer. Life gives you something else to deal with. And you think, nope, I thought I was done with this. I thought I was better than this. I thought I knew better. But growth doesn't work like that, does it? And underneath all of this, there's always a root, right? Underneath all of this, there's probably some fear there, some anxiety, some perfectionism. Maybe it's the fear of making the wrong choice. Sometimes it's your conditioning. But when all these things work together, they create the perfect storm. They convince you that moving forward without all the answers, without knowing all of the next steps, they convince you that moving like that is irresponsible, that it's reckless. But really, it's the only way you grow and evolve. The trap of having it all figured out, it works because it makes staying the same look like the smart and the safe and the reliable and the responsible choice. And this is why this trap, the trap of having it all figured out, this is why it's so dangerous. It doesn't just keep you from moving, it keeps you from becoming, from growing into the woman God already sees you as, from experiencing the kind of peace and the kind of joy and the alignment that only comes when you stop gripping so tightly to what you think you know and open yourself up to what's next. And so when I was thinking about this show topic, I was like, okay, I have to touch on this point. So for some of you, it may resonate. For some of you, it won't. But I just invite you to listen with an open mind and an open heart. So holding on to this, I have it all figured out kind of mindset is not only exhausting, but it can get a little arrogant. That's the energy I'm getting from that. Not arrogant in an ego sense of thinking you're better than other people, but in the sense of believing you've arrived at the final version of yourself. Like there's nothing else for you to learn or unlearn. And I wanted to talk about this in this particular podcast because this is the point that kind of sneaks past our awareness. There's this arrogance in thinking you've mastered life. It's not always loud or intentional. Sometimes it sounds like, oh, I've been through that. I know how it goes, or I've already learned that lesson, or I know how this story ends, or I'm done with this, or I already know what's best for me. But the danger in that is, and listen to me closely, certainty feels like safety, but it's actually a cage, sis. All right? It can make you blind to what you don't know. It could keep you replaying the same patterns because you're unwilling to see them differently. It could close the door to people, to opportunities, to wisdom that would and could change your life simply because you thought you had it all figured out. Curiosity is the opposite of that. Curiosity says, I'm open. I'm willing to see this another way. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be surprised, to be a student again. And the richest lives belong to the people who can stay soft enough to be reshaped, who can let life reintroduce itself to them over and over again, who can meet familiar things with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective and a beginner mindset. And when you release this arrogance of certainty, you stop micromanaging your life like a business plan and you start living it like a co-creation. You stop treating yourself like a finished product and you start seeing yourself as this work of art that's in progress, something that's constantly evolving, being shaped by new seasons, new lessons, new experiences, perspective shifts, new relationships, etc. And that's when something beautiful happens. Instead of fearing the unknown, you start getting curious about it. You stop bracing for change and you start leaning into it instead. You realize that uncertainty isn't here to ruin you. It's here to invite you deeper into your own becoming, into your own evolution, which is why I want to close out this conversation by focusing on curiosity, and not just as a mindset, but as a daily practice, as a posture you consciously choose every single day, especially when life feels unclear or unpredictable. Curiosity isn't just a cute personality trait or something that kids do when they're trying to learn how the world works. Baby, it is a tool. It is a spiritual muscle. It is your lifeline when the ground beneath you feels like it is shifting right beneath your feet. The trap of having it all figured out thrives in rigid thinking. It wants you to believe that your worth comes from knowing exactly where you're going, exactly how it'll happen, exactly what it'll look like when you get there. But curiosity comes in and says, what if there's more for me than I've ever considered? What if I'm allowed to not know and still be okay? So practicing curiosity daily, and notice I use practice that was used with so much intention because it is a lifelong practice. It's a daily practice, but Practicing curiosity daily means waking up and letting yourself see life with fresh eyes, with a beginner mind, even when nothing on the outside has changed. So it may mean asking yourself questions like, what else could be true here? What am I not seeing yet? If I didn't have to get it right or get it perfect, do it the right way, what would I try today? What would I explore? What would I do? So think of it like this. Practicing curiosity daily is kind of like approaching your own life the way you'd approach a new city on vacation. Like when you're on vacation, you're ready to explore. You're letting your hair down. You're willing to get lost. You're open to surprises. You're open to meeting new people. You're willing to try new foods. You're willing to do all the things. And that doesn't mean you don't have structure. That doesn't mean you don't have any intention. It doesn't mean you're out here just dilly dallying, but that's okay too. It just means you're not gripping so tightly to a specific outcome or to some rigid itinerary that you miss all the magic along the way. And when you learn to live from that place, you're not just constantly waiting for permission or the perfect conditions to act. You trust that you can figure things out as you go, and that even detours carry lessons and connections and blessings that you would have otherwise missed if everything had gone according to your plan. And that is the magic of curiosity, babes. It turns uncertainty from a threat into an invitation. So, friend, here's what I want you to take from today's conversation. The trap of having it all figured out is just that. It's a trap. And like I said earlier in the episode, it is a scheme. It is a scheme that Todd set up to come to you with the bullshit. Okay? Do not fall for it. It is a distraction from the real work of staying open, of staying present, of staying willing to grow. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Life will keep unfolding in ways you cannot predict. And friend, that is a gift because every season, every pivot, every unexpected change is shaping you into the woman you're here to become. So instead of gripping tighter and trying to micromanage your life and micromanage your circumstances, allow yourself to loosen the reins a little bit, to let go a little bit. Let curiosity be your guide. Let grace meet you right where you're at, right in the middle. And if you don't remember anything else from this episode, please remember this. Take this with you. You are allowed to not have it all figured out and still be deeply aligned, still be deeply blessed, still be deeply in your purpose. Okay? Clock it. And before we shift into a moment for her, I have to tell you, my energy since our Safe to Receive session has been on another level. It has been electric, magnetic, on fire. I didn't even plan to create another session so soon, but the way my life has been moving since the last session, I just had to. Since the session, I've been back in the gym consistently. So previously I was taking a little break from strength training. I was just bored with it. I was a little burnt out. And so I was doing Pilates and walking for the most part. But since the session, I've had so much energy. I've been hitting my workout split. Last week, I strength trained for 5 days out of the week, which has not been my thing for a while. I've been burnt out from that, but now I got my mojo back and I'm going to try to hit it again this week. And I just feel really good in my body. I've been waking up early. I've been showing up consistently on social media. I even created a new Instagram page, Evolve with Ashlee, shameless plug. And over there, I'm just posting what I want, when I want, and just letting myself be seen in a whole new way in my full expression. And that's the energy I want to bring you into with my new session called Magnetism. And this is just your energetic glow up, girl. We are focusing on embodying your light, taking up space with ease, attracting from pure alignment, feeling safe to be seen, letting your energy walk into the room before your words ever do, opening yourself up to more aligned opportunities, attention, recognition, and calling in the right people, the right rooms, the right blessings. That just sounds and feels so juicy, so expansive, so beautiful. I'm so excited to offer this to you. And so we're gathering for Magnetism on Thursday, August 21st. It's a remote energy healing session. You can join from anywhere. You do not have to be available at the time of the session. I'll send more information 1 hour before the session starts. And per usual, the link to join is in the show notes. And if you're listening to this after the 21st, don't worry. I do theme sessions like this every single month. So just check the link in the show notes to see what's coming up next. Okay, so this is the perfect moment to shift into a moment for her. Because as you know, around here, the work isn't just about talking. It's about embodying. It's about integration. It's about implementation. So we're going to take the next 30 seconds or so to drop out of the mind and into the body. And this is where the real work happens. Welcome to a moment for her. If you can, close your eyes. And if you're driving or you're at work, you can keep them open, of course. And take a slow, deep inhale in through your nose. Hold it for 4. And gently exhale through your mouth, letting your shoulders drop. Good. And again, inhale deeply, filling your belly, then your chest, then your diaphragm. We're going to hold for 4. And exhale. And with that exhale, I also invite you to release the pressure to arrive. And now place one hand over your heart space and one over your womb space or your belly. And you can repeat after me or say it in your mind's eye. I am safe to not know. I am safe to be in process. I trust myself to figure it out as I go. I release the trap and the illusion of having it all figured out. And friend, just let that truth move from your mind and into your body, into your bloodstream, into your cells, into your bones, into all of your organs, into your mind, your conscious and your subconscious mind. Let it root in you. And sis, thank you for sitting with me in this conversation. I pray it gave you the permission to breathe easier, to release the illusion of arrival, and to trust the beauty of your own unfolding. If this episode landed for you, please don't be stingy, girl. Share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, your aunties, your cousins, and please leave that 5-star review so more women can find this space. And until next time, stay soft, stay curious, and never stop evolving into her. I'm Ashlee Hope, and you've been listening to Evolving Into Her. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for choosing her, for choosing yourself. And until next time, stay in devotion to your becoming.